Caution on Tuesdays, as we'll go over in today's video. Tuesday is the most likely day to close negatively and has the highest negative return, which has potentially major implications for our overall picture, which I want to kind of be fitting into this video right here. Now, the overall picture we went over primarily in yesterday's video, that is still very much valid and viable, but I want to be coming at today's video with data and statistics that do show that, hey, if that is not going to be happening, you would likely see what we're going to be going over in today's video. So today's video is more like a cautionary video, but in my experience, especially as a trader, it's always best to be having that plan B. It's not even a plan B. I mean, it's part of your fucking main plan, obviously, which is, what do I do if I'm wrong? And how do I know if I'm wrong? And in this case, again, I'll reference back to yesterday's video, as that was the bulk of the sort of medium-ish analysis, that medium-term analysis, what I mean to say, that does suggest that Bitcoin trades up first before down. But in this case, Tuesday, as far as statistics do show, has been the least likely day to close positively at just over 36% of all Tuesdays since specifically 2024 began closing positively, which is by far the least likely day to close positively amongst all of the other weekdays. Now, it also has the highest negative return at just under 3% by a pretty wide margin. And even on the days where it did have a positive return, sorry, did I say positive return right here? Has the highest negative return. And for the days that it did have a positive return on Tuesday, it was the lowest weekday, actually, by a good margin as well, at under 1.5%. So I'll put in the ranges here based off of today's open, as this has been incredibly useful, especially during these past few weeks now of low volatility. And if Bitcoin were to trade to the upside, about 1.5% to the upside would put Bitcoin around 70,000 bucks, probably a little bit below there. And of course, to the downside, and very specifically to the downside, almost 3% would put Bitcoin well below 67,000 bucks, which does have implications, as we'll go over in this chart right here. The daily HPDR bands showing the current sort of balancing point of this range, you know, of the short-term range, should say, at 69,420. Great number right there. By the way, CME is trading pretty much right at that pivot as of right now, because it does have a premium over spot price action. But here's the thing: if Bitcoin were to play out those statistics in what is probabilistically most likely for Tuesday, well, that would imply that Bitcoin probably comes somewhere back down around here, where this red circle is. And that would obviously be well below the median and likely indicate that Bitcoin is going to play out I would say, relatively short-term time frame pullback first before any sort of long-term upside continuation. Now, I want to reiterate my overall views on this channel that long-term, you know, Bitcoin very likely still trades much further to the upside. And so we don't really want to get into a situation here where we're like picking up fucking pennies while stepping over dollars, right? But hey, if Bitcoin were to, you know, come back down and close the day up below 67,000 bucks, you're very likely looking at, I want to put this into percentage terms, you know, a 5 to maybe even 10% correction, somewhere between like 62 to 64,000 bucks before the next potential low gets put in. Again, if that were to happen. So if you are kind of jockeying to get into one of those more long-term positions, that would be the opportunity right there. Again, very specifically if this does happen. But as long as Bitcoin is especially above the median here at 69,420, which it basically is as of right now, it's a little bit below there to be fair, but pretty much right at the at the strike. I would still be favoring the upside continuation first before any sort of correction. So today's closure obviously going to be very, very important. Anywhere below 67, get ready for, you know, another 5, maybe even 10% correction on top of that. But as long as that condition is not true, well, upside still more likely. But again, caution for today. If there is going to be some sort of reversal, it's likely to happen on Tuesdays. We actually went over this. Excuse me, someone's in the back of my throat there. I don't know what the fuck it is. What's going on there? Nobody knows, not even me. But if I highlight all of the red vertical bars here, which are on Tuesdays since Bitcoin put in the all-time high in mid-March. Is it the all-time? Yeah, it is the all-time high. I feel like rethink about that one. My brain's not working too well right now. We have seen that Monday typically has been a positive day. In fact, we see that in statistics over here. It is, you know, it's by far the most likely day to close positively in 2024. And then Tuesday was where the reversal began before the, you know, before the rest of the week continued basically sideways and down. So what I've done is, again, I've highlighted all these past Tuesdays since the all-time high was put in. You can see that Tuesday reversed Monday, the day prior's direction, and then the rest of the week traded sideways and down. So, you know, what do we have over here? Monday was positive yet again, but if we're going to have a reversal, Tuesday would be the day for that to be happening, which is obviously today. So very, very relevant. Anyways, moving onwards and forwards from there. I do want to follow up on just one new piece of information that we didn't have from yesterday's video that we do have now, which is another 5-day closure. And what do you know? The 5-day setup continues to favor the upside long term. We can see over here that the 5-day stochastic oscillator is very heavily positioned to the upside, and the pivot, the momentum pivot, has moved significantly down from yesterday. It was just under 64,000 bucks. Now it is below 62,000 bucks. So it is still going to be favoring the boo laws here, but this would imply that we've, you know, there, it very likely imply that if we are going to see upside, it begins in the next 5-day spread here. So, so again, if there's any sort of hesitation today, I'm going to start to say, hey, correction first, get ready for at least 64, maybe as low as like 61 or 62. And Bitcoin probably fishes its way out of there and tries to get into the upside later this month. So things get a little bit delicate here, of course, while, you know, mostly boring. I mean, Bitcoin has been more or less sideways, like extremely, extremely sideways since like middle of May. But of course, you know, if you are looking to get into long-term positions, you know, important things do happen during these times. So again, main message of today is caution on Tuesdays. Tuesday would be the day if we are going to see any sort of reversal and deviation from the greater picture that we looked at on yesterday's video. It would likely happen today. And of course, as long as CME is above 69,400, especially, have to still be favoring overall upside for the boo laws sooner rather than later instead of a correction. Is there anything else that I wanted to get to today? I have my notes up over here, and I think I've hit just about everything, so we're good right there. I think we just go through actually some of the higher term time frame stochastic oscillator as well. I think that it is interesting to see that most of them are aligning with each other as of this moment. One, we do see this nice trend line regression coming in from the last few lows. The last lows coming in from not early January, but late January of this year, connected with the lows of April, mid-April that is, and then potentially the lows coming in early June. So that is the daily. The daily remains to the upside as long as Bitcoin's above 68,250. So again, as long as Bitcoin is above, is above that median, that is kind of like the line in the sand. 2-day time frame is going to be showing, it's actually going to be showing downside right here. As long as Bitcoin's below 69,600, not too far away from current price action, but you know, could be relevant, of course. 5-day time frame, as we just went over, still to the upside, and pivot moving down, which is a sign in and of itself. And the weekly time frame opening this week up, as long as Bitcoin's above 68,500, momentum remains to the upside in the bullish control zone. So if we're going to see continuation, very likely starts within this next 5 days between now and kind of like basically next Monday. If there's any sort of hesitation today, I'd look at that as a good indication that Bitcoin's going to play out a pullback first. But again, you know, we're looking at the 5-day, the weekly, volatility being this low for this long has really not occurred in any like comparable manner, except for actually June of last year, where Bitcoin was getting ready to put in that major base, going from, you know, mid-20s to 40,000 bucks in what seemed like you know, a few weeks. Other than that, we have to go all the way back to, you know, October, November of 2018 before we get these sort of low reads, and before that, I mean, a couple years prior than that. So these are extreme measurements here, which does imply that we're probably going to be seeing an extreme movement from this particular base that's being set in basically in the, you know, in the 60,000s. So I think that's a good place to maybe leaving off. Tomorrow we'll have clarity on the situation, you know, whether Bitcoin held the range or not. If you do see it again below 67, especially on a daily closing basis, be aware. Probably gonna be seeing a breakdown first before anything else. But until then, the boo laws still have the ball in their court. And I think we'll leave things on that note. As always, I want to wish you the best. Another little boring day today, but it is what it is. And of course, I do want to be wishing you the best. Holy shit, man, my brain is really not fucking working today. I got a decent night's sleep, but apparently my REM sleep, not so good last night. Don't know why the hell that is, because I've been taking all my magnesium pills. Anyways, Wishing you the best of the best. Take care. Much love. Maybe see you tomorrow.